Hey, what's up Aquamigos? So building a DIY koi pond has been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. However, it's also been one of the biggest lessons in learning things the hard way that I've ever had. You guys saw the emergency fixes, the leaking trash cans, me trying to get those seals to hold, but now that the dust has settled and the Aquamigos are happily in their new home, I've had some time to realize that if I could go back to day one, there are 5 major things that I would have done completely differently. From the type of liner that I used to how I built my retaining wall, these aren't just small tweaks that I can now fix. These are major changes that I would have had to plan from the beginning. A lot of you more experienced pond builders gave me a lot of good advice and suggestions along the way, which really helped me out a lot. However, I know several of you are beginners like I was, and whether you're in the planning stages of your first pond build or you're deep in the trenches already, you're going to want to watch this. Here are the 5 things I'd change if I were starting this pond build all over again. Number 1. I chose an RPE pond liner instead of a traditional EPDM pond liner, and looking back, I wish I would have chosen an EPDM liner instead, mostly because of the appearance. The funny thing is that a lot of the more experienced pond enthusiasts encouraged me to go with EPDM, and I didn't listen because I saw things online about how RPE was supposedly stronger, it was less expensive, and also I think it had more UV resistance. However, when it came to installing the liner, it was just really difficult. It's not as pliable as EPDM liner, and it's really hard to make good folds in the RPE liner, and the folds kind of stick up and create these pockets where I think debris might get stuck. Also, the RPE liner has a shine to it, and sometimes when I look at it, it kind of just looks like a black trash bag. But anyways, if I could start from the beginning again, I would go with an EPDM liner. My second mistake is more of an aesthetic issue, and it's the back wall of my pond. When I was first planning my pond, I actually wasn't sure if I was going to go with a more natural style garden pond or more of an actual koi pond, so my original idea was to design the pond to have more of a natural pond shape with more organic looking curved edges. Little did I know that this wouldn't translate perfectly when I actually decided to take the more traditional koi pond route, and I built a retaining wall so the koi pond could be partially above ground. And the curve that I'm talking about specifically is this one here. This curve actually created quite a bit of extra work for me because I had to cut some of the concrete blocks, and in the end, visually, I would have just preferred if I had made that back wall straight and parallel to the retaining wall behind it. From certain angles, it kind of just looks like a dent in the wall, or maybe it looks like I built it that way because I had to avoid something in the ground. The good thing is that when viewing the pond from this angle, which is where you will approach the pond from 99% of the time, the dent looks completely fine. However, if I could go back, I would definitely just make it a straight wall instead. And while we're on the topic of the retaining wall, I'll go ahead and talk about my third mistake, which is also more of a small aesthetic thing, but I do wish that I put more effort into making my retaining wall round around the corners. As you can see, even although I stuccoed over the cinder blocks or concrete blocks, whatever you want to call them, you can still see them, and I feel like it would just look a lot better if I spent more time smoothing out those rectangular shapes. This was my first time building a wall of any kind, so it was taking me quite a long time, and also I wasn't sure that I could accurately cut all the bricks that I needed to make the wall appear round enough anyways. But I don't think it looks bad, but I do think it's something that would improve the appearance of the pond if I had just made those corners a bit rounder. My fourth mistake is more of a functional one, and it was using these Valterra knife valves for my settlement tank. And the reason I consider this a mistake is because they're just too fragile. If you look at my 4-inch knife valve, this stem for the handle is already bent slightly, which makes opening and closing the valve very difficult. And actually, the way I think this happened is that I think one of our gardeners accidentally kicked it or knocked something into it, causing it to bend. And actually, the last time I closed and opened opened the valve, it kind of seemed like the handle may have disconnected from the valve, and I'm afraid to put it back down in case I can't get it up again. Replacing this valve is going to be a huge pain, and I don't really want to. Looking back, I wish I would have just used something like this 4-inch shutoff valve, which doesn't have a long handle coming out of it. Plus, this 4-inch Valterra knife valve was quite expensive. I think I paid around $120 for it. And as for my fifth and final mistake, I'm sure many of you can guess what it is, and it's using these 32-gallon Brute trash cans for my pond filter instead of using these blue 55-gallon barrels that everyone else seems to be using for their koi pond filters. This is a great example of getting what you pay for, because I thought I could save some money by using these trash cans, but from what people have been telling me, the plastic on these trash cans is not nearly as sturdy as the plastic on the 55-gallon barrels. As many of you know, I probably have about 6 somewhat recent videos where I'm dealing with leaks in my trash can filters. I thankfully got the leaks fixed in the video that I posted last week, but the entire process was a battle. However, having said that, I believe I could have avoided the leaks if I would have built the new filtration system similarly to how I had my old trash can filter set up on my pool pond, but even then, I think I probably should have just gone with the blue 55-gallon barrels. At the end of the day, even with these 5 mistakes, being able to see my fish swimming around in their new pond makes every bit of the struggle worth it. I think a DIY pond is never really finished. It's like a living thing that evolves with our skills. And I'm curious to hear from those of you who are currently building a pond or have already built a pond, what's one thing you would do completely differently if you were starting over today? Or if you're currently in the planning stage of a pond build, which of these 5 mistakes stuck out to you the most? Let's keep the conversation going down in the comments below, because as I'm sure you guys know, I always learn a lot from you guys. If you found the mistakes I made helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, it really helps the channel out. And if you want to see more pond videos, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace!